A thunderous boom echoed across the night sky as the Zalorian delegation's ship pierced through Earth's atmosphere, streaking across the stormy horizon. The sleek, metallic vessel, shimmering under the lightning flashes, landed with an ominous grace in the heart of Washington, D.C. Rain pelted the ground, steam rising from the ship's engines as it settled on the White House lawn. Jake Carter, a seasoned engineer with a knack for turning the impossible into reality, watched from a distance, his curiosity piqued. Despite the rain, a crowd had gathered, their faces a mix of awe and apprehension. Among them stood Jake, unassuming in his worn leather jacket, yet his eyes sparkled with anticipation. The ship's ramp extended, and out stepped Zara, the leader of the Zalorian delegation. Her tall, lithe figure exuded confidence, her piercing blue eyes scanning the gathered humans with a mixture of disdain and amusement. Her entourage, equally imposing, followed suit, each radiating an air of superiority. "Your technology is quaint," Zara remarked, her voice smooth yet edged with condescension. "We expected more from a species so proud of its advancements." Jake stepped forward, undeterred by her scorn. "We make do with what we have," he replied, his tone steady. "Sometimes simplicity is strength." Zara's eyebrow arched, intrigued by Jake's calm demeanor. "We shall see," she murmured, more to herself than to him. Suddenly, an urgent message flashed on the hollow screens surrounding the White House grounds. A massive solar storm had been detected, its trajectory set directly towards Zealer. Panic rippled through the crowd, and even the Zalorian delegation seemed momentarily shaken. "Our planet faces annihilation," Zara announced, her earlier arrogance replaced by a flicker of desperation. "Our shields are advanced, but they won't withstand this storm." Jake's mind raced. An idea began to form, born out of Earth's necessity-driven ingenuity. "We can help," he said, stepping closer. "We have technology that, while simple, might just save your planet." Zara's eyes narrowed. "You truly believe your primitive methods can succeed where our advanced systems fail?" Jake nodded. "Yes. It's worth a try." The urgency of the situation demanded swift action. Within hours, a team of Earth's best engineers, led by Jake, gathered to devise a plan. They worked tirelessly, combining Earth's practical technology with the Zalorians' advanced systems. The plan was ambitious: create a massive shield using Earth's electromagnetic field manipulation techniques. As they worked, Jake and Zara's interactions became more frequent, each conversation peeling back layers of their personalities. Jake's resourcefulness and determination shone through, while Zara's initial skepticism began to wane, replaced by a reluctant admiration. "Your ingenuity is surprising," Zara admitted one night, watching Jake solder components with practiced precision. Jake glanced up, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Sometimes necessity breeds innovation," he replied. With the shield nearing completion, tension rose. The solar storm's arrival was imminent, and any misstep could mean the end for Zealer. The combined team worked through the night, the air thick with anticipation and fear. Finally, the moment arrived. The shield was ready to be deployed. The human and Zalorian teams gathered, their faces taut with anxiety. Jake stood beside Zara, both knowing that failure was not an option. "For Zealer and for Earth," Jake declared, his voice steady. Together, they activated the shield, watching as it shimmered to life, a beacon of hope against the encroaching storm. As the storm hit, the shield held, its energy absorbing and deflecting the deadly solar flares. Cheers erupted from both humans and Zalorians, their relief palpable. Zara turned to Jake, her earlier arrogance replaced by genuine respect. "You've done it," she said softly. "You've saved us." Jake smiled, the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. "We did it together." In that instant, a bond formed between Earth and Zealer, born out of crisis but solidified by mutual respect and collaboration. And as the storm dissipated, a new chapter in interplanetary relations began, one defined not by technology or power, but by unity and understanding. A deafening alarm blared through the command center as the team's screens lit up with data from the approaching solar storm. The once calm atmosphere transformed into a frenzy of activity. Jake, standing at the helm of the control panel, felt the weight of the impending disaster. The storm's severity was worse than they had anticipated. "Everyone, focus!" Jake shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We have minutes before it hits. Let's make sure everything is in place." Zara, now a steadfast presence beside Jake, monitored the energy levels of the newly constructed shield. Her eyes, once filled with skepticism, now reflected determination and trust in the plan they had devised together. "The storm's speed is increasing," Zara reported, her voice steady but urgent. "We need to activate the shield now." Jake nodded. "Initiating sequence. Hold on to something." With a few swift keystrokes, the shield began to hum to life. A low, resonant vibration filled the air, signaling the shield's activation. The entire control room seemed to hold its breath as the first waves of the solar storm collided with the barrier. The room's holographic display showed the shield absorbing and deflecting the solar flares. For a moment, relief washed over the team, but it was short-lived. A particularly massive flare hit the shield, causing the energy levels to spike dangerously. "Shield integrity at 70% and dropping," an engineer called out, panic seeping into his voice. Jake's mind raced. "We need to reroute power from non-essential systems to the shield." "Zara, can your team handle the adjustments on your end?" Zara nodded sharply. "We'll make it happen." The room buzzed with frantic activity as humans and Zalorians worked in unison. Every second counted, and every decision bore the weight of an entire planet's survival. "Jake, the auxiliary generators are overheating," a technician warned. "Divert coolant to the generators," Jake responded, his focus unwavering. "We can't afford to lose them." Amidst the turmoil, Zara's voice cut through. "Jake, if this fails—" "It won't fail," Jake interrupted, his tone firm. "We've come too far to let it." As the storm raged on, the shield flickered under the relentless assault. The energy levels continued to drop, and tension in the room escalated. The team's faces were taut with concentration, their movements precise and deliberate. "We're at 50%, Zara updated, her composure slipping slightly. "Jake, we need a miracle." Jake's eyes scanned the control panel, searching for a solution. An idea sparked. "What if we use the ship's reactor? It's risky, but it could give us the boost we need." Zara hesitated for a split second before nodding. "Do it." Jake relayed the instructions, and the room braced for the final attempt. The ship's reactor, a source of immense power, was redirected to the shield. The lights flickered, and the hum of the shield grew louder. "Reactor power at maximum," Jake announced. "Hold steady." The holographic display showed the shield stabilizing, its integrity slowly climbing back. The team watched in tense silence as the storm's peak passed, the shield holding firm. "We did it," Zara whispered, disbelief and relief mingling in her voice. Jake exhaled, a smile breaking through his exhaustion. "We did it together." The storm gradually subsided, and the control room erupted in cheers. The once divided teams now stood united, their bond forged in the crucible of crisis. Zara turned to Jake, her eyes reflecting a newfound respect. "You've shown us that true strength lies not in technology alone but in the spirit of those who wield it," she said softly. Jake nodded. "And that unity is our greatest asset." As the celebration continued, a message from Zila arrived, filled with gratitude and admiration for their human saviors. The successful defense against the solar storm marked not just a victory but the beginning of a deeper, more collaborative relationship between Earth and Zila, united by shared challenges and triumphs. A sudden jolt shook the spacecraft, rousing everyone from their brief respite. Warning alarms blared, and red lights flashed across the control panels. Jake's heart raced as he scrambled to his feet, eyes scanning the monitors for the source of the disturbance. "We've hit an asteroid field!" Zara's voice crackled over the intercom, laced with urgency. "Brace for impact and prepare for evasive maneuvers." Jake took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. "All hands to your stations," he commanded. "We need to navigate through this field or we're done for." The ship shuddered violently as it dodged massive chunks of space rock. The tension in the cabin was palpable, each crew member focused on their tasks with laser precision. Zara manned the navigation controls, her fingers flying over the keys as she guided the ship through the hazardous terrain. "Engine status?" Jake called out, gripping the edge of his console to steady himself. "Engines at 80%, holding steady," replied one of the engineers. "But we've sustained minor damage to the hull." Jake cursed under his breath. "Divert power to shields and reinforce the damaged sections. We can't afford any breaches." As the ship weaved through the asteroid field, Jake and Zara worked in tandem, their collaboration seamless and efficient. The stakes were higher than ever. Their mission to deliver the shield technology to Zealand depended on their survival. "We're almost through," Zara announced, her voice tight with concentration. "Just a little further." A particularly large asteroid loomed ahead, and the ship's trajectory was set to collide with it. Zara's eyes widened in alarm. "We're not going to make it!" "Hang on!" Jake shouted, initiating a manual override. With deft hands, he adjusted the thrusters, angling the ship just enough to narrowly avoid the collision. The entire crew let out a collective sigh of relief as they cleared the last of the asteroid field. "We did it," Zara breathed, her shoulders sagging with exhaustion. Jake nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "Good work, everyone. But we're not out of the woods yet. Let's assess the damage and get back on course." As the crew worked to repair the ship, Jake and Zara took a moment to catch their breath. The harrowing experience had forged a stronger bond between them, one built on mutual respect and shared struggle. "We make a good team," Zara admitted, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Jake chuckled. "We do. And we're going to need every bit of that teamwork to get through what's coming next." With the ship patched up and back on course, the crew resumed their journey to Zealand. The closer they got, the more the weight of their mission pressed down on them. Failure was not an option, too much was at stake. As they neared Zealand, the planet's beauty became apparent. Its vast oceans sparkled under twin suns, and lush green continents sprawled across its surface. But the sight was marred by the dark clouds of the approaching solar storm, a stark reminder of the urgency of their mission. "We're entering Zealand's atmosphere," Zara reported, her tone both excited and apprehensive. "Prepare for landing." The ship descended through the planet's atmosphere, the ride smooth but filled with tension. Jake's mind raced with final checks and plans, ensuring they were ready to deploy the shield immediately upon landing. The moment the ship touched down, the crews sprang into action. Equipment was unloaded, and the shield components were assembled with practiced efficiency. Jake oversaw the operation, his eyes scanning every detail to ensure nothing was overlooked. "Let's get this shield up and running," he urged, his voice firm. The team worked tirelessly, their movements a blur of coordinated effort. As the shield generator hummed to life, a sense of hope and anticipation filled the air. "We're almost there," Zara said, standing beside Jake. "This is it." Jake nodded, feeling the weight of their mission more than ever. "Let's save your world." With the shield now fully operational, they braced for the storm's arrival, knowing that their success would mean the difference between life and death for an entire planet. The tension rose to a crescendo, every second stretching into an eternity, as they awaited the storm's impact. A blinding flash of light filled the sky as the first wave of the solar storm struck Zealand. The ground trembled, and the air crackled with energy. Jake and Zara stood at the heart of the control center, eyes fixed on the shield's readings. "Shield holding at 90%, an engineer reported, his voice tight with tension. "But the storm's intensity is increasing." Jake's jaw clenched. "We need to maintain maximum output. Divert all auxiliary power to the shield." The room buzzed with frantic activity as the team worked to stabilize the shield. Outside, the storm raged, its fury unmatched by anything Zealand had ever seen. The once serene planet now faced the wrath of the cosmos, and only the shield stood between survival and annihilation. Zara watched the storm through the observation window, her face a mask of determination. "We can't let it fail," she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. Jake placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We won't. We've got this. A sudden jolt shook the control center, sending equipment and personnel sprawling. Alarms blared, and the shield's integrity dropped alarmingly. What happened? Jake shouted, helping an engineer to his feet. A surge in the storm's energy, Zara explained, regaining her balance. It's overwhelming the shield's capacity. Divert power from the reactors, Jake ordered, his mind racing. We need every ounce of energy we can muster. The team worked tirelessly, rerouting power and reinforcing the shield's structure. Sweat dripped from their brows, and their hands moved with frantic precision. The atmosphere was thick with urgency, every second bringing them closer to either triumph or disaster. We're at 70%, an engineer called out, fear evident in his voice. The shield won't hold much longer. Zara turned to Jake, desperation in her eyes. What do we do? Jake's mind raced. An idea formed, risky but potentially life-saving. We can use the ship's warp core. It's unstable, but it could give us the boost we need. Zara hesitated. The warp core? If it fails... It won't, Jake interrupted, determination etched on his face. We don't have a choice. With a nod of agreement, Zara issued the command. The team redirected the warp core's energy to the shield, the room filled with a deafening hum as the core powered up. The shield's readings climbed steadily, hope flickering in the hearts of everyone present. Core at maximum output, Jake announced, his voice barely audible over the noise. Hold steady. The storm's intensity peaked, the shield glowing brightly as it absorbed the relentless onslaught. For a moment, it seemed as though the planet itself held its breath, waiting for the outcome. Then, gradually, the storm began to subside, its fury spent against the unyielding shield. We did it, Zara whispered, tears of relief welling in her eyes. Jake smiled, exhaustion etched on his features. We did it together. As the storm dissipated, the control center erupted in cheers. The shield had held, and Zealer was saved. The once distant and aloof Silurians now embraced their human allies, bonds of friendship and gratitude forming amidst the aftermath. Zara turned to Jake, her eyes shining with emotion. You've shown us what true strength is, she said softly. Not just in technology, but in spirit. Jake nodded, feeling the weight of their shared experience. And you've shown us that we're stronger together than apart. In the days that followed, the people of Zealer and Earth worked hand in hand to rebuild and strengthen their alliance. The successful defense against the solar storm marked not just a victory over nature, but a triumph of unity and cooperation. As Jake prepared to return to Earth, Zara stood with him on the tarmac, the setting suns casting a golden glow over the landscape. This isn't goodbye, she said, a smile playing on her lips. No, Jake agreed, clasping her hand. It's just the beginning. With a final look at the planet they had saved together, Jake boarded the ship, his heart filled with hope for the future. The journey home was bittersweet, but the promise of a new era of collaboration and understanding between their worlds made it all worthwhile. And as the ship soared into the stars, Jake knew that humanity had truly found its place among them.